Okay, now we are live streaming. Namasrishtam manumapi sachi putramatra swarupam rupam tasyagrajamurupurim maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaramaho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pritita kripaya sri gurum tam natosmi Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So today we are continuing Shri Brahma Samhita. We will cover verse 9 and verse 10 because uh, the commentary is fairly short. Linga yonyatmika jata ima maheshwari praja. All progeny, such as humans and demigods, along with their respective worlds, have issued forth from this combination of the generative capacity in the form of linga and the universal womb of material nature called yoni. So, the Tika translation of Srila Jiva Goswami is as follows. Whatever details have been narrated in Shastras such as Shaiva and Tantra about Shiva's creation of progeny are not authentic. Rather, they have been spoken independently out of ignorance. So, Srila Jiva Goswami is making a direct statement. There are many Shaiva and Tantra Shastras, and these are not ones that we consider important, but he is saying they are basically not authentic. They give a lot of information about the creation of progeny by Shiva, and Srila Jiva Goswami is saying this is not authentic. Actually, Mahamaheshwar refers exclusively to Sri Krishna. Thus, the fundamental purport of Maheshwari Praja is that all progeny have originally emerged from the Maya of the Supreme Controller, Sri Krishna. It is in this context that the expression has been used in the current verse. So, the important thing here, what we have previously heard, is that Shambhu is basically the effulgence of the glance of Mahavishnu, and that Maya Shakti, the external energy, is the chaya, the shadow of the internal potency who is present as Ramadevi. So now Tatparya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhagavan's divine opulence consists of the entirety of his majestic influence. Out of that entirety, the opulence of Vaikuntha and Goloka constitutes 3/4 of his majestic influence, wherein there is no lamentation, death, or fear. The remaining 1/4 is the opulence of Maya and consists of the entire population of living entities, such as human beings and demigods, along with all their planets in the mundane universes. So we're talking about what is called Tripad Vibhuti. So 3/4 of the entire creation is the spiritual sky. It has sometimes been referred to. It is all of Vaikuntha and Goloka, which is all opulent and has no lamentation, no death, no fear, no old age, no disease, and nobody falls from Vaikuntha, it has to be said. The remaining 1/4, this is called Ekapad Vibhuti. That's the opulence of Maya. And that is the entire group of mundane universes. The universes are described to be like mustard seeds in a big sack full of mustard seeds. So many universes, they are all emanating from the pores of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. As Mahavishnu breathes out, All of the universes are coming out of the pores of his body. The Brahmas within each universe are coming from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, where he has entered, and the Brahma is creating everything. And this huge universe, which we cannot even conceive the limits of, is just one tiny universe, actually one of the smaller universes in the aggregate of all universes, which all taken together are only 1/4 of the entire creation. So all of these substances have issued forth from the union of the ingredient cause and the instrumental cause, that is linga and yoni. Whatever facts have been accumulated to date through material science are all characterized by this type of union. All inert material objects, such as trees, creepers, worms, and insects, have been produced from the combination of Purusha and Prakriti, the generative masculine principle and the receptive feminine principle. So, this is a thing which, in the next paragraph, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur will go into more detail on, but the concept of Purusha and Prakriti, it is also in the origin of Sankhya philosophy, and this is described in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Purusha and Prakriti are not abstractions, they are representations of Bhagavan, who is manifest as the Purusha in the form of Sadashiva, and Prakriti, who is the shadow of the internal energy, who is manifest as Durga Devi. And that is the Prakriti. And this representation of Linga and Yoni, the masculine principle and the feminine principle, it carries down to every aspect of creation. So there is a particularly profound point worthy of consideration in this regard. Although the Sanskrit words linga and yoni generally indicate the male and female generative organs seem somewhat crude, these terms are extremely useful for defining elementary principles in scientific literature and also for illuminating matters of confidential significance. In other words, there are many people who take that linga and yoni are literal, that linga is referring to uh, like a male genital, and yoni is a representation of the female genital, female reproductive organ. But this is not. This is the principle. This is in the abstract form, they are represented as the linga and yoni. So, furthermore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on, because consider this, that he has written this back in the Victorian era. And in the Victorian era, one of the points of the British was to try to make all Indians feel ashamed of their traditions, their sanskars, and philosophy. So there was such a tendency to try to shame. Oh, look, you have shameful representations of apsaras on temples. Look at how shameful. You should all become Christians and convert. But uh, science and transcendental science cannot destroy the true substance by depending on social formality. In other words, it's all about understanding the truth, not trying to follow social conventions. So, to understand the desire seed related to the material potency, which is the original principle of the inanimate universe, the use of these words is unavoidable. But one should simply interpret linga and yoni as referring to the active potency of the predominating agency, Purusha Shakti, and the active potency of the predominated function, or Stri Shakti. So Linga and Yoni, it is being clarified here, are referring to the masculine principle and the feminine principle. So hopefully that all makes sense. Let's move on to verse 10. Shaktiman Purusha Soyam Lingarupi Maheshwaraha Tasminnavirabhulinge Mahavishnur Jagatpatihi. The controller of all, the original agent, who has been indicated by the word Maheshwar, is the potent male or Purusha. For the purpose of creation, he is manifest in the form of the original male generative capacity or linga. He who is called Mahavishnu, the Lord of the cosmos, also appears in that combination of the active and receptive principles of creation by his expansion in the form of his glance. So, the Tika translation of Srila Jiva Goswami. So, this verse has been spoken to clarify the previous verse. The unmanifest form mentioned previously now emerges in its manifest form for the purpose of creation. How does it emerge? The partial expansion of a partial expansion of Bhagavan, called the original potent male principle, or Maheshwar, creates the material universe. So Maheshwar here is describing as referring to Mahavishnu. Okay, so Mahavishnu is the Maheshwar. Everything in the world of Maya, such as ahankar or false ego, intelligence, mind, the five gross elements, the five sense objects, and the unmanifest aggregate of the material energy, is the manifest representation of the unmanifest form of Bhagavan. This is a lot to parse. So basically, everything in this world is a manifest representation. The unmanifest form of Bhagavan is not referring to the Satchidananda Rup of Bhagavan. It is referring to Bhagavan's presence as masculine, uh, the masculine creator, the potent principle, and the potency principle, the Prakriti. So these are in an unmanifest form, and they become manifest as all the elements of creation. Now, this is an important thing. Why? Because for a devotee, everything in this world is a transformation of Bhagavan's energy. And therefore, we don't see anything being separate. The only thing that separates us is our separatist mentality, our idea that this world is mine to enjoy and to control. So this is important. The self-sufficient Mahavishnu, who is the Lord of all living entities and all spiritual and material worlds, is the origin or Amshi of Maheshwar, who appears in a manifest form as the Linga or original male generative capacity. So now it is being said that the Linga, who is Shambhu Sadashiva, um, is the appearance of Mahavishnu as the Purusha, as the original male generative capacity. This is also stated in this commentary on Lagu Bhagavatamrita. So yam shaktiman purushaha lingarupi maheshwaro bhavati tasmin linge jagatpatir mahavishnu ravirabhut. That Supreme Personality, the possessor of all potencies, Mahavishnu, takes the form of Maheshwar as the linga or original generative capacity, and then enters within it as the Lord of the mundane universes. So now let us discuss the Tatparya of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Sri Narayan, Sri Krishna's personal expansion, who is non-different from him, reigns gracefully in the Vaikuntha realm of the spiritual sky, wherein transcendental opulence predominates. So Vaikuntha is being described as that realm where transcendental opulence, or Aishwarya, predominates. It is so opulent. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once told his disciples, he had given so many things, we want to do this and we want to do that, and they were saying, but Srila Prabhupada, there is money, no money, where will all this money come from? And Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur said, if I take one brick from one palace in Vaikuntha, it will be worth more than all of the opulence and treasure and wealth of this material world combined. So, Mahasankarshan of the quadruple expansion of Narayan is also a partial expansion of Sri Baladev, Sri Krishna's first pastime expansion. By the influence of the inconceivable potency, that Mahasankarshan, in the form of his partial expansion, Karanodakashayi Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is sometimes called Mahavishnu. He is also called Karanodakashayi Vishnu because he lies in the causal or Karana ocean. He is also called sometimes Karanarnavashayi Vishnu, which is just another word for the causal lying in the causal ocean. Arnava and Udaka both have the same meaning. So Sri Krishna, so Mahavishnu eternally reposes in Viraja, which is the borderline between the conscious and unconscious realms. This is a very important point. We're going to come back to this. From there, he glances toward Maya, which is the remotely situated shadow of the spiritual potency. So, what does it mean when we say that Maya is the shadow of the spiritual potency? She is the Chaya or shadow potency. Why is she called the shadow potency? Because she is Krishna's potency. She is the unconquerable potency, but she is the shadow potency because she creates avidya. Avidya karma samgyanya tritiya shakti rishite. So she is that energy who is able to create illusion, maya, by which ignorance is created. So Mahavishnu is in Viraja. Viraja is the borderline. And it has been said sometimes there is a lot of people come back to the discussion again and again. What was the origin of the jiva? The jiva is described as anadibadda, bound from beginningless time. Where has the jiva come from? Some people speculate that, oh, the jiva must have come from Goloka Vrindavan, must have fallen, because Srila Prabhupada said we are all originally Krishna conscious. But we were with Mahavishnu. Srila Prabhupada has also said this. We were with Krishna in his sport means we were with Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu is in Viraja. So the Jivatmas have only emanated in the Viraja region. If anyone falls from Vaikuntha to the material world, it is only because of the desire of Bhagavan. Some special circumstance, like in the case of Jay and Vijay. They got the curse of the four Kumaras simply so that the pastime desire of Bhagavan could be fulfilled. No other reason. The associates of Bhagavan never will fall to the spiritual world unless it is the desire of the Lord. And they are happy to do that. And they want to come back as quickly as possible because it will bring pleasure to their Prabhu. Okay, so Maya is the shadow of the spiritual potency. The semblance of that transcendental glance is Shambhu, the Lord of Pradhan, which is replete with the potential material ingredients. So Pradhan is that aggregate where all of the different material elements for creation of this world are present in an undifferentiated form. It is, you can think of it also like the kind of the primordial soup, what they describe in Big Bang Theory. They say, oh, all the elements of matter were created within the first few nanoseconds of creation. That's what they say. But they can't say, where did this massive thing come from? Well, we understand that as pradhan. And this is also done under the direction of Bhagavan, not randomly. Oh, look, I put a big pile of bricks. I set enough dynamite under it. It blew up. And then it became gold and silver and platinum and carbon and oxygen and everything. And somehow it all formed into stars and planetary systems. No, I don't think so. So Pradhan So the effulgence of the glance of Mahavishnu becomes Shambhu, and Shambhu is the Lord of Pradhan. And in the form of Rudra, he unites with Maya, the instrumental cause. Rudra is an expansion of Shambhu or Sadashiva. But he cannot do anything without the influence of the direct spiritual might of Sri Krishna in the form of Mahavishnu. So he is the manifest representative of Mahavishnu. The unmanifest material energy or Mahatattva emerges only when the active endeavors of Maya, that is the Shiva Shakti, and the primordial material ingredients, pradhan, are sanctioned by Sankarshan, who is Sri Krishna's personal expansion, and Mahavishnu, who is Sankarshan's personal expansion and the first Purusha avatar. So this it sounds very difficult to break down, but really, basically, there's the Mahatattva, and there are the primordial, so that's the unmanifest material energy, and then there's the pradhan or the primordial material elements. And by the sanction of Mahavishnu, who gives his glance, the effulgence of his glance becomes Shambhu, and then everything happens, and you have the primary creation of the material world. Only when Mahavishnu is favorable does Shiva Shakti gradually create the element of false ego, the five gross elements beginning with space, the five sense objects, and the material senses of the jivas, who are particles of the rays of Mahavishnu's effulgence. An elaborate analysis of this aspect will be presented in the coming verses. So this is also a very important thing to understand. So that this is the description of creation that is given also in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The first thing that comes out as the Kala Shakti is injected into the Mahatattva is ahankar or ego. Ego is the first thing that is required because the Atma is a particle of Shakti. It is a particle of Tatastha Shakti. For the jiva to become bound in matter, there has to be this glue. So this ahankar, it's the first element, it's the first thing, it's the glue that wraps the pure spiritual spark of the jivatma so that one can identify, oh, I am a man, I'm a woman, I'm a human, I'm a demigod, I'm an animal, I am this and that and the other. That is all the function of ego. And along with ego, also there is mind and intelligence. So ego mixed with the mode of goodness produces mind, right? Why is that? Because when mind is in a pure state, mind is in the mode of goodness. Ego mixed with the mode of passion produces intelligence. Why is that? Because it is the mode of passion or rajogun that promotes activity, and intelligence is required for activity. And ego mixed with the mode of ignorance produces the uh, the five um, the five objects of the senses. Okay, these are like the abstract representations of things that are seen, things that are touched, things that are smelled, etc. And from these come the five knowledge acquiring senses and the five working senses. So this is how the whole material world stacks up. And then you get the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. So this is kind of describing the actually paralleling the description of Sankhya philosophy in Srimad Bhagavatam. So why is this important to understand? Because again, we want to see this world as not different from Krishna. It is not just that, oh, Krishna is the creator through his expansion as Mahavishnu, and then as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Mahavishnu has manifest as Sadashiva for the purpose of creation. Not just that, but actually this entire world is a transformation of Krishna's energy. I used to wonder about this because Srila Prabhupada would say, we don't want to waste energy, like he would turn off the light. What difference does it make leaving the light on? Well, it is Krishna's energy. He was thinking of it as Krishna's energy. I don't want to waste Krishna's energy. I don't want to waste Krishna's water, Krishna's fire. These are all Krishna's energy, not mine, because this world is not for me to enjoy. And that is kind of, in a nutshell, the whole purpose of understanding all this is that we want to think of this world as a manifestation of Krishna's energy, Krishna's opulence, and it is all for Krishna's service. Oh, here is a flower, let me offer it. Here is some food, let me cook this and offer it. And that is the way that we will reverse this whole process of entanglement and dissolve the false ego. You can't dissolve the false ego or ahankar simply by being falsely humble and trying to act humble. We will dissolve false ego by Naham Vipro Nachanarapatir Napi Vaishyo Na Shudro. I am not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Naham varni na cha grihapatir no vanasto yatirva. I am not a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. Kintu prodyan nikila paramananda purnamritabdhir. Gopi bhartavupada kamalayor dasa dasa nudasaha. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, who is the unlimited reservoir of bliss and the Lord and maintainer of the life of the gopis. Why is Krishna said to be maintainer of the life of gopis? Bhartu is from the word bhartri. Bhartri means the like husband, maintainer. But Krishna did not marry the gopis. Why is he the maintainer of their life? Because if gopis did not see Krishna, they felt they could not live. Tvayi dhritasavastvam vichinvate. This is from the first verse of Gopi Gita. We are always thinking of you, and you hold our life in your hands. Because our thoughts are in you, you are our life. Gopis are addressing Sri Krishna this way. Anyway, we are going through these verses of Brahma Samhita, which are describing philosophy and creation and whatnot. And this is to help guide us along the proper way of being conscious of where we are in this world and what is our role. Any questions here? So this was pretty quick today, but it was a little dense in terms of philosophy.
Mm. There you go. Done
All
as I pronounce.
all right.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, yes, my only question, of course, I don't fully realize all that stuff, but I think that it is easier to understand. The concepts presented today were easier than last week. But because it was kind of like just, saying that all that we talked about last week, well, this is also the material world too, so
hmm
um but my only question is a technical question. How do I see the recording of this on YouTube? Because you said you're streaming it. So I was looking at your like there's different things on Learn Ayurveda. I don't know exactly how to find everything when I'm looking for it. So I
Let
wanted to
me,
ask.
yes, let me post the link to
Okay.
there is a channel which is this one here. Yeah. So if you go to actually there's a playlist. So this one
Okay.
here, I'm giving you the link for that playlist. And
It's on Learn Ayurveda.
actually, it is not. It's on the YouTube. It's on the Learn Ayurveda YouTube channel, which is under Ayurveda Florida. But here you go. I'm
Oh,
pasting this. So
Ayurveda.
that's the link to the playlist.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let me see it. Yeah, okay, I see it now. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Hare Krishna,
All
Gaur
right.
Premanande,
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribo.